Is now 5 after 5, and
members have to leave early, so we're going to wait.
Yeah, call the meeting to order and see if we can get through this in good order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for November, and which were sent out a while ago. So if everybody's had a chance to look at them, or I take a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Michael?
Am I voting? Or do we have enough? Maybe not. And maybe I can't vote.
So let's see. I think we have a quorum.
1, 2,
7.
4, 5,
3, 4, 5.
I note
6. So I think we,
Yeah.
I think we have a
So
quorum.
I can make a motion.
Oh,
So, and I don't know whether an alternate can make the motion or not.
If you can't, I will.
okay. Why don't we? Is that Andrea?
Andrea made the motion and Greg seconded it. So any additions or corrections or deletions, whatever? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
One. I was absent.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Two abstentions. Okay. I'm going to insert a issue that came up before we get into the land steward's report. So I think this has to do with our favorite subject, 36 button ball, 36-1 button ball. And Amanda's going to recuse herself from this discussion, or at least, but she may have some words as a private citizen from the floor. So I think Amanda can be a little more specific, but basically what the issue is people coming down to the property at Button Ball Road, and instead of using the parking area, driving their vehicle right down the trail out to the edge of the marsh, and looks like they're going to drive onto the marsh. So we don't know who it is or what they were doing, but I'll let Amanda fill us in.
Well, it was an incident yesterday, and not only did they drive down there, and we had talked that the 36-1 Button Ball Road had set up some parking areas, and that walkway, Sonoma Woods Road, was going to be a trail. We gave them signs, we gave them trail markers, and under the impression that it would be done. So I was quite surprised to see a SUV go all the way down, and not only that, we had talked about allowing buffer zones. It's been a policy of open space. I don't know if you all know it, but when we mark trails and things, we meet with the abutting landowners. We have discussions with them. We leave a buffer zone so the public will go over and be on their property. We negotiate with them. And when we did Champlain North for Wickford, we opened the barway and made parking area so that the cars weren't parked in front of the Wickford condominiums. We've made an effort to be a good neighbor because we know the public doesn't always adhere to a good neighbor policy. And I think in the past, you've heard my concerns about someone coming in unauthorized and clear-cutting areas, just a number of issues. And in Fred's report, he said that he wanted to get some ideas of where we wanted to go with this. And I just think that if it's going to be an open space piece, it was certainly acquired as an open space piece in 2002. harbor management and the selectmen looked at it and deemed it really didn't have access to the water. Be that as it may, the committee has been formed and they're researching it. But if it's an open space piece of land, then I would ask the open space people to go in and treat it as a typical open space piece. When we put up a barway to prevent cars driving on trails, when we leave buffers, when this little piece of land is blanketed with public access signs, parking signs, things that we really don't put on our pieces. And to make matters worse, harbor management has no public access, no water access, none of these signs on any of theirs. And I think it's been a healthy discussion. It's been going on since March of last year, and I would hope that the Open Space Commission would consider drafting something to that commission and the selectmen saying, this is what we need to do. If it's an open space, you need to let us follow our procedures, our policies on how we market. We're not denying access, but I speak in terms of liability, working for so many attorneys all my life. If a car drives off into that water, there's going to be a liability issue. And I just think this drag on forever. And I'm hoping that maybe that you could draft a letter or a resolution or something and to that committee and give them some guidelines of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So that's my take as a private citizen.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's a area where a car has gone on to, is it, if you continue down the drive on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
Like a...
There's an old, what looks like an old woods road that goes out to the marsh. I think it was created by the owners before the state of Connecticut bought it in 1958. They filled, there were no regulations in 1958 to say you couldn't do anything you wanted with a marsh, so they put fill on the top of the marsh and created a roadway, which I think they thought was going to go to a public landing or maybe even or private landing. But I think as they found out, and everybody else has found out, that at low tide there's no water. You can't keep a boat there. Greg, no, I guess it was Fred who came down and tried to put a kayak in the water, and he said, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I understand. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. But and somebody drove his truck right down to the end of that. Yeah, Ann.
So I have another question. Mike, are you on that committee?
I'm on the committee and I have some comments.
Okay. I'm just curious whether there's a time frame for creating some guidelines already anticipated by
We're hopeful. Fred's hopeful as chair that it's going to end in 2 months. Our goal is just to make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, and then they decide what's going to happen with it. But I've been helping, was it John Mearsham? I think it's John Mearsham. Put up signs. Well, we haven't been able to put up the boundary signs or the parking signs because we haven't had them, but Fred just told me in an email that apparently we've gotten the right boundary signs. We're only going to have 2 or 3 probably to put, and John have been putting them up. We only have 2 public access signs, one at the entrance and one kind of where I guess the country club property ends. That's it. And they're relatively small. I have photographs of them. I don't know if I sent them.
I've seen them.
To you guys. But so we haven't had the boundary signs to put up, but apparently we have them now, and it's also going to Martha Shoemaker has made 2 nice wooden park signs that we're going to put in the 2 parking spots. So I think once that's delineated, that should
the parking to the right of the, when you're coming down the drive, on the right by the
No, no.
entrance, or on the left, across.
Yeah, on the
from
left.
up
Yeah.
pond.
Yeah, on the
Beyond-
right, there is,
Beyond the access to the Black Hall Country Club pond, where there's a real pullout. I mean, people have been doing that for years and years
Okay.
and going into the pond illegally. But on the left-hand side, there's no town property on the right-hand side of the road. It's
all on the left.
It's all on
Okay.
the left-hand side, and that's where
Actually, that's not true, Evan.
No?
When you,
Not when you first come in.
The country club property extends pretty far down past the pond. And then the town piece is on both sides of the driveway.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's a narrow strip which abuts the wetlands
Right.
that are owned by the Black Hall Club.
Yeah.
And then there's, which is on the country club. And then there's this piece they made parking. And it was the intent that, and the committee has talked about, some parking spots. And then that wood road would just be a trail, because I gave Fred trail markers too. So people could go down, in the past, people come down and surf first. But there was not to be cars down there.
Yeah.
And so, but people pull there and they park wherever they just,
So I have a question. I haven't been there in a while. Are there any marked or delineated parking spots? If someone were coming in there, would
We've
they
been
know?
waiting for the sign, so
No,
nothing
they
has been...
can, someone went down there illegally and mowed all those areas, and now they've marked them. And I said to them, rather than put fences up, there's suggestions to put that's more natural looking. So there is some of that.
Yeah, I mean,
But they mowed way beyond the parking areas and into the roadway areas and up the roadway. And now so people are cold, they don't want to get out of their cars, so their cars going all the way down. And on McCulloch, on Tree in the Gap parking lot, we have those nice gates, the two trunks, the rail that you can lock and unlock and move, and something like that needs to be put across it.
We're going to get into a general discussion of Fred's report, or we're kind of into this now.
Well, I just thought I'd open this up, and we'd like to
Yeah, and Fred's
figure
report,
out.
which is going to be, the committee hasn't voted on that yet. I'm in agreement with it. But basically saying, to the selectmen recommending that the Open Space Commission control everything above mean high water, which is upland. So we would get everything above mean high water. And the Harbor Management Commission, which hopefully we develop a working relationship with them in the future, to make proposals, to do things below the mean high water line where their jurisdiction kind of is. And other than there's no desire on the committee to do anything other than signing at this stage.
My comment on Fred's report, Mike, could comment on what I have to say, is that we were told pretty aggressively early on in this process that if there were not water access, this property would have to be returned to the state of Connecticut. And I know that's not likely, but
That's false.
But that was alleged.
No, it was in the deed.
It's in the deed.
Yeah, but unless someone, i.e. the state of Connecticut, wants to enforce that in
Yeah.
a court of law, it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen.
The state doesn't want to take it back.
I mean, that goes for any easement. Any easement on any property can be violated probably within 20 years, and unless there's someone that holds the easement that's willing to defend it in court, okay, it's worthless. I mean, I was involved with an organization, the Connecticut Conservation Association, that had an easement on 40 acres, and a neighbor just went in and cut everything. So we took the individual to court and won, and he had to pay. But unless you have the resources to enforce the easement, nothing happens. I mean, you have to even know that it happened. I mean, depending on...
Well, in this case, it's a not happening. You're if the easement requires something and that something isn't happening.
Well,
Well, it's not even an easement. It's a declaration in a deed.
Well,
So someone would have to, whoever wrote the deed or agreed to that deed would have to take it to court and enforce it. And I can just tell you, that's not going to happen. I've never, in my 50 years of experience, that's never happened.
But the discussion here is if that piece of land is going to be under the open space jurisdiction, then I think that it should be the open space people that mark the boundaries, that put the gate up and monitor.
Well, then you can't complain until those boundaries go up, because people aren't going to know where the boundaries are or where to park or those kind of things.
Signs up, the trail up and things like that. But, I don't think John Meacham's ever marked a trail in his life. He doesn't know about buffer zones.
Well, I can tell you that I don't know that this commission knows how to mark trails either. If you know what the international, or at least the regional way to mark trails are, you don't necessarily bang things in trees anymore. You could easily spray paint things, and there are ways that you can tell right turn, left turn. This is the end of a trail. There's all sorts of standard signage that we don't use either, but
Right, but we allow buffers,
it's a minor
we allow blockage for ATV activity.
And I would think that if the Board of Selectmen agree to what Fred's recommending and we get control of the stuff above mean high water, guess what?
We get to choose what
We
you
get
do.
to do it.
Yeah.
Right now, I think I would just be minimize, if you could agree or make amendments to Fred's recommendations, but I'm going to be supporting Fred's recommendations to, probably with some minor modifications, and I think there's enough. I think the two wetland folks are going to support it. So,
When is that meeting?
what?
When is that meeting?
The next meeting is December 20th at 8:15, and the door's always locked when we get.
I have a key.
So I absolutely recognize your concerns, Amanda, and I'm really cognizant that we need to protect your rights as a private property owner, someone that abuts this property. But in terms of working, using open space rules, it's not open space yet. We hope it will be open space, but that's something that we would, I guess, support Fred on.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get, a recommendation or they'll just take some action and vote as a board that says this is what we're going to do. They may follow some of the recommendations and not. I don't see, at least on the first selectman's part, I don't see any interest in spending any money on anything or structures or anything. So if anything was to be built by the Harbor Management Commission, they're going to have to raise the money or find the money.
Yeah.
I had a couple quick questions for you, Mike, related to Fred's proposal. The first one is if that proposal is accepted, or we all agree with that, what's Harbor Management's plans to investigate whether it's appropriate or feasible to put a boat launch in there? They're going to take the lead on that. Are they going to do
As a committee, we've been waiting 2 months to get some sort of conceptual plan as to what they were proposing to do so we could comment on it, and nothing has come in.
Well, I hope they'd be transparent enough to include you in the process.
The committee?
Well, I think that if they're making plans for the land, they ought to, and they're making all these recommendations, that they ought to share with you what they're thinking about the water.
I think it's very nebulous right at this stage. I think if I had to predict what they might come up with is at the shortest possible spot off the main, the still access way that went into the marsh, the shortest possible spot to the little creek that comes in, they might propose a walkway to get out to the creek.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would have, you can't really put a float out. The creek is too small, so you can't interfere with the navigability of the little creek.
Well,
So
they said they could. They had the deep guy down there when we were down there, said he could.
Yeah, well, that's all bologna sauce, based on one
The
individual.
the other quick question I had, Mike, is, and I'm particularly curious for your comment as a birder, is Fred made reference to a birding platform. What would that be, or why would we need that?
You wouldn't necessarily, but I thought it might be nice because it's almost handicapped accessible because there's so much fill. But if you could get a little tee at some place so you looked, I guess it's to the south towards
Yeah.
town, if you had a place where people could kind of come out, number one, it keeps them off the marsh.
I was going to say, it almost could be located on that laneway to keep people from going down there.
You know, or, yeah, you could, and it would be just a place where people could look. I mean, it might be, at that point, it's not below mean high water. Mean high water is more out near the channel, so.
Or the edge of the marsh.
At the edge of the marsh.
Yeah, because that's more high, you know, above mean high water
Yeah.
there, so where you've got high tide bush and.
Well,
But in any event, I'm just thinking, if I had to predict, I think something like Fred's recommendations are going to come out of the committee. Fred wants to, he's the chair, he really wants to end it in 2 months or less. Hopefully, we'd get some sort of concept from the Harbor Management Commission. But I think it's more one or two individuals only, and it might only be one individual that's spurring all this, and it could all just die.
Another question I had, though, is if it turns out that it's not feasible to put any type of kayak or boat launch or whatever, the whole property then becomes de facto open space.
Yeah, my gut feeling would be DEEP basically reviews and approves anything that, for access to deep water. That's going to happen, and the only thing we could do to be, careful and cautious and environmentally sensitive would be to petition any hearing any application to public hearing so that there's a discussion of it locally, even though it might happen in Hartford. But that would probably piss folks off. But then we could present data on, the DEP, in spite of what's been said, doesn't do an environmental assessment.
They don't care about the environment either.
They arbitrate, okay? There'll be, if we go to a hearing, there'll be an arbitrator who's non-partial, and the applicant makes their case. There may or may not be. Usually, DEP is in cahoots with the applicant because they've helped design the structure to minimize, in their opinion, the impact on the tidal wetland, okay? So the DEP staff has a commitment to support what they've recommended because that's maybe what the applicant designed. So they're compromised, basically. They're tied, because they're going to approve something. So they'll minimize the impact of whatever they propose, hopefully. And then the people that don't agree with their recommendation make their case. And that's where you would present technical information. Now, a lot of times the DEP hearing officer just ignores it for legal reasons because you can't restrict access to deep water theoretically by an adjacent property owner. But that's the question.
Deep water.
To move this along, is there a sense among the commission members here that we want to write a letter asking that to the committee and to the selectmen that something needs to be done about unfettered vehicular access to this property?
My only concern about writing a letter is that we have two representatives on that committee now. I don't see why we need to bypass them per se.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on
they can,
the 20th.
If this is what we decide, and that's certainly a reasonable thing, that we don't want people driving all over the place down there.
I mean, I hate to admit this, but I may have driven down the first time I was here down half of it. Well, not all the way to the marsh, but
What's it going to gonna take in the summer to get a bunch of kids going down there?
Yeah.
You've gotta put some type of gateway to
Yeah.
restrict it.
I feel comfortable, personally, I feel comfortable with Fred and Mike.
I think if you could say, we agree as a commission
Yeah.
to splitting the jurisdiction and us trying to work with, in a sort of way with the Harbor Management Commission, to, work together as a town commission should work together to resolve it. And I think that number one, that'll help us with the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Are you gonna, if you go forward, are you gonna exempt the wetlands? Yeah, no real.
They don't really have.
I know.
They were put on the committee, and
I know.
the wetland involvement is
They backed out.
it's a drainage ditch.
Yeah.
It's an artificially dug drainage ditch that connects the wetland on the
Yeah, because they're,
But they have,
near the pond.
Michael, they have jurisdiction of the review zone, which extends 100 feet into that property.
They do.
And
I don't
so
deny that.
they have say over what can happen and what can't.
Imagine
happen
if
with
there
it.
were vernal pool critters breeding in the little pond adjacent to the wetland adjacent to the pond. Then they have 400 feet. Would they acknowledge that? I don't know.
Yeah.
They just kicked me off the commission, that's all.
So I don't think
wanna do that.
they don't want to be involved. John is actually very, reasonable. So I just think we'll have at least 4 votes, and I think that even the 2 of the harbor management folks, well, how can they object to? They've got control over the area that
It makes sense to me.
they say they can control by statute, and then they've got to spin, or figure out what they want to do, if anything. I don't know that. I haven't really been attending their commission meetings and how much they talk about it.
Yeah, Gary.
I was thinking if we would write a letter explaining to the commission and all the committee members, people are driving down there. And until this thing gets resolved, they're going to continue down there and kind of put the ball in their court.
Well, I agree with that. That would work. Greg's point is, why don't we depend on the members of this commission?
Whatever you decide.
The selectmen
already
usually
on the
attend.
committee.
I think it's who is it? Matt usually attends the meeting. And so whatever we talk, and sometimes even Martha attends, depending on their schedule. So I'll definitely bring it up.
Well, I think you should bring it up to their attention, because nobody else goes down there. I see what goes on. And that was to be a trail. They did the parking, and it's just death by 1,000 cuts, unauthorized. Tree removal, now here.
Well, let's, everybody, can we get some sort of consensus?
I think it's a great idea for us to vote on whether there's agreement at the commission level for what proposal.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to support Fred's moved and seconded? Any other discussion?
I agree with it, though.
Okay. Andrea?
For that?
Okay. And the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like to make
Amanda.
another motion if I could.
Motion is to have the report to the commission.
Okay, you got to finish the vote.
Well, I think we should have some,
Support Fred's recommendations.
I think that our motion should be
I was going to make another one, Fred.
conveyed to us and maybe the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. Did you finish the?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've voted on that.
I would move that it's been brought to the attention of the commission that vehicles have been driving beyond the anticipated parking area on the property, possibly causing environmental disturbance and risk of safety to themselves if they drive into an area that they either would get stuck or into the water, and we recommend that the committee strongly consider putting up barriers to restrict that access.
And the
I'm-
committee
The committee.
Yeah, the committee,
I'm not-
intermediary committee between the two commissions.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, Andrea, second.
just as a discussion
Discussion.
item, us even putting up the signs, our task, our charge was to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
It wasn't to,
That was my issue.
clear parking areas or trees or make trails. That's kind of happened a little bit, and signage was sort of, okay, we've sort of got to delineate where the public can't go, and that's probably, since it could be happen quickly with the committee, we made motions to do it. Selectmen agreed that we could do it. So, I just want to get up some signs, put parking signs where they're supposed to be, and then see what happens. But, I don't want to start talking about, like, who's going to have the responsibility to put, a barrier up.
I specifically said your committee, and not.
I don't think Fred's going to want to do that.
Well,
I think after we have a motion that we have, after the Board of Selectmen says that we can control the upland, then we can do it.
the reason I mention that is that area has been portrayed publicly, and in fact the public's been encouraged to visit that area without any real control there. So I understand that it's of nebulous jurisdiction at this point, but that doesn't negate the fact that people are driving on there and they could place themselves at risk if they're drunk and they drive off, get their truck bogged down in mud.
They could
what
drive
kind of
into
mess
the
they could make. Yeah. So.
But as a committee, I just don't think that's not our charge. And Fred certainly doesn't want to do any more physical things other than the few limited things that
But you can bring it to their attention.
we will bring it definitely to their attention. But I think to really resolve it is
And the question is, if you put up a gate, and I
what
don't know
type, how much, who
how
pays
much,
for it.
who's bearing the cost? As far as I'm concerned, it ought to be the selectmen, because they abrogated their responsibility of saying their jurisdiction belongs to you.
Yeah.
I mean, kick it down the road and get a committee and kick it down the road, and that way we don't have to make any decision that might be unpopular with some people.
But they're close to making a decision, Evan.
Well, I hope they are. Because they should have made it last
Make the decision
March.
that we want.
And this will, I think, emphasize the urgency and
Yes.
the need to go ahead and make a decision.
I'm willing to withdraw the motion if we think we can portray that. We want to basically
I think
forestall
by the new
issues
year, the committee, we might meet in January, and that's the end of it. Then it's going to be back in the lap of the, Board of Selectmen, and they're going to have to make a decision on whether or not they kick it on the road.
Let's hope.
It's, it's beyond the committee. The committee is going to disappear.
Well, the committee doesn't have any budget for any, even,
We don't have any, other than, probably a motion of the Board of Selectmen. That's how we got created, and we will just disappear.
so who's paying for the signs?
We donate the boundary signs. Martha made the parking sign.
Yeah.
I donated the
And we're
wood.
splitting the cost of the secretary, right? I think.
Yep.
Those are open space signs. Those
So,
came out of
Yeah.
I think we
The
helped
boundary
pay
signs
for
are open
open
space.
space signs.
the survey.
We all split the survey.
We split the survey, so it's,
Yeah,
the three commissions, not the committee. The committee has no money.
yeah. Okay. So what was the, you want to,
withdraw the motion.
okay.
Yeah, let's be quiet for a little while.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking up and explaining what's going on. So let's, we've got the land scoop report. Did everybody receive that?
I
from
got an
Peter?
old one, November. Then I told him about a tree that was down. He said he took it down. He had the, Berry Landing, let's see. I had one from November 9, oh, that's Andrea's. I got one, he said the trails were in good shape, he's walked, he's away, he's in Florida, he'll be back. It was pretty nondescript.
I thought there was one that said he removed, either on Ames or McCulloch, he'd removed
Right.
4 trees.
And then he didn't know about the one I saw in Bartholomew, and he went down to. And there was one where he went around rather than cut it.
Oh, okay.
But he said the trail, he's been taking trees, things are in, nothing that needed our attention.
Okay, then we'll move on from the...
I wanted to, I don't know if this was an appropriate time to bring this up or not, Evan, in regards to the Lance Stewart report and Lance Stewart, is that Peter also sent an email saying he's going to be gone from basically January through May.
Did you guys hear that?
Do that.
He's going to be in Florida starting in January and returning sometime early May.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big gap.
Yeah.
And we should probably address what we're going to do in that time frame.
In the past, where we've been taking that, well, Jim and Wayne does stuff more than Jim, but in the past, we've assigned each of us open spaces to walk and to see and report back if we needed it. Like, if we needed a tree down, Wayne could cut it down. So,
That is not as proactive as everybody going out really once a month to all the properties. I have a dog, I go out frequently, but I don't think it's a regular thing even from last year. Mostly we hear about it from other people, maybe.
Yeah.
And
from Peter.
I mean, that's 5 months, basically. Appropriate to consider hiring somebody temporarily when Peter's not around.
You want to
give Wayne a
advertise?
chance, and if not, have somebody, I don't know if anybody would be interested in doing it at Peter's wage rate.
I don't know what Peter's wage rate is, to be honest with you. And you have to buy a liability policy, so that's about $500 temporarily.
I mean, maybe first stop is,
So are we paying for Peter's liability while he's in Florida?
They buy their own policy.
Oh, do you reimburse them? Is that how it works?
No, we pay them an hourly wage. That's what we do for all three.
Since the town, unlike the town of Lyme, which allows their volunteers to maintain the trails and use chainsaws and whackers and things, the town of Lyme.
I'm not sure I want unauthorized people running crazy with
No.
chainsaws and stuff. I mean, there's pros and cons on that too. So, I mean,
That was Bonnie's decision on the liability for somebody cutting, so maybe Tim might have a different view on it.
I think we worked it with Tim too. It's not the selectmen's decision, it's the insurance company.
Okay.
So that's where they're the ones that came down. If there's an incident, then the insurance for the town would go up, and it would be who authorized it, then to come back to sit with us. So
So are you sitting on the insurance policy?
am I sitting on
Do you
it?
know that there is insurance policy in effect right now?
I just got its renewal.
So you have a copy of it,
Yes.
basically?
Yeah.
Do you have something in that contract that cancels it?
Aren't you off this?
The reason I get in my work.
I
People
know.
will pay $10,000 for a policy, not a holiday pay.
No, because he
And I had to
renews
chase
it.
them around.
No, he renews it every year, so I have
They
it.
can cancel. Like I said, on,
Gary, we're gonna miss you as the auditor.
you know,
Good, why don't you take over the auditing? So, but no, it's in effect. We would get a notice because we're listed on the policy. And so you would get
that's
an,
important.
Yeah, so you would get a notice.
You're covered from
Yes.
my little ripple.
yeah,
Good.
okay.
So, I would just recommend that whatever the critical ones, I've been lax in visiting all the sites yet, but it might get me out there once a month. It's a sign,
Yeah.
Oh,
I've been walking on Color fairly frequently, once or twice a month.
probably do the bigger ones and,
Yeah.
I can obviously do
Wayne usually goes on McCullough.
Champlain North.
And Claudia, you do Champlain North
Yes.
too, so that's two.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Champlain South would be a good one to
Yeah.
get covered.
But, just put the schedule to
They're all
take
Take
things
on
to do it.
Ames, don't you?
Well,
I
in
can
the,
do
Meeting
yeah, well,
house,
in
one a
the,
week.
in the past,
Yeah.
we've assigned it, everybody, and then they do their own schedule.
Yeah, that'd be
So,
good.
and it was easier to say, you take Champlain North, you take Champlain South,
And so if we find something, then can we directly address Wayne, or do we contact you or Evan?
I think you ought to contact the chair
Yeah.
to see the extent of it. Someone else may need to come out,
Okay.
or someone, we may need a work party, so
Take a picture.
I think to alert people.
Take a picture of it and send it.
Yeah, that's what
Peter
does to us too. He'll send reports back, or Wayne, or somebody will email me, there's a tree down on Cullen, and then I'll contact Wayne, There's a pretty good network of people. Vicki walks Bartholomew all the time. I could say, hey, let us know, because she's the one,
Yeah.
let us know on Bartholomew, because she's the one that said the bridge was working well. So, and, maybe we could put it out in the selectmen's thing that say, for all those hikers, if you see anything, here's a way to contact us and tell us.
Yeah.
Be a good land steward. That's,
This is
that's
a
something-
community asset.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
But I would say, maybe for our January meeting, we just put together what our responsibilities as members might be.
Mhm.
We can adopt the
you were
open
saying,
space
I'm assuming it's
till May,
weather permitting, like if there's,
oh, yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
But you can go out any time on a month.
You can
go
go
out
right.
any day.
Yeah,
Right.
or more than once.
No, but sometimes snow sticks around. Not so much lately, but.
Crampons.
Well, hopefully, if we get snow, we'll hopefully get some cross-country skiers and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a schedule, maybe?
What's that?
A schedule, what properties we need to cover and who is gonna be.
well, I have, Mike said Champlain North, Evan and I kind of do McCulloch, so we have Champlain South and Ames left.
To Champlain South.
Okay. And anybody,
I can try Ames.
What was the other one you said?
Ames. Ames is pretty large. You want to do both of you on Ames?
Okay. Yeah, right.
To May, right?
Yeah.
Is that what he said, it'd be gone January? Well, isn't he's here in December, right?
It's January, February, March, April, May.
May, he's back.
January.
Yeah.
So 4 months, January, February, March, April. And I'll check with Wayne to make sure that he's, if we need some equipment, that he's around too.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, thanks for bringing that to our attention. But it may be something down the road. I mean, I think we have it in our budget. Would we be interested, do we feel the need to get a second land steward at large?
I don't know that we need to decide now, but
Just something to think about.
Yeah.
he is a Florida resident. He spends most of the day down there.
Yeah.
And Wayne, they've sold the McCulloch farm, so who knows for how much longer. Jim Mildren's getting older and, so I think it's always good ask around, look around and see if someone's interested and bring it, because it took us a while. We actually advertised it midsummer, and Peter's wife signed him up. So I mean,
it's John, whose name I don't remember, but he's Ann Gallagher's husband. Yep. She's on the Old Lyme Land Trust. He has
she's off now, I think. Or she's coming.
Goes off in March.
Okay, thanks, Suzanne, yeah.
He went through a training to work with the Old Lyme Land Trust. So he may have availability or interest on a temporary basis, just as someone who has gone through a training.
And they might have contacts, too, with other folks that would do that kind of thing if we cooperate with them. They've got great
Suzanne, would you mind passing along the word?
Nope, not at all. So I
Okay,
can ask them.
I think John did the same, was in the course that I took. It didn't seem, I told Tim that I'd taken this chainsaw safety training, and that didn't seem to make any difference. I want volunteers.
So you're looking for him to be a steward in place of Peter? Is that the idea?
Yeah, temporarily if he can.
But he doesn't have a liability policy.
Yeah, probably doesn't.
But just if he knows of people looking.
Or if he might be interested.
Or if he's interested, we'd be interested in having a conversation. I'd have to check. For some reason, $30 an hour sticks in my mind, but I'm not sure.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
I noticed Mike just looking at his...
He's got to
take off.
This guy's sick, so
I think it would
we'll
be nice to talk about the schedule for a while, which we have as many members as we can.
Yeah.
Before he leaves.
I don't have anything on McCullough. Do you have anything on Bartholomew?
No, except that we elevated the bridge somewhat, and it seemed to be working, although in very, very heavy rain, that trail does flood. So, but I haven't heard any complaints about no access. So.
Vicki said it was very nice. Vicki, the town clerk, she walked a lot.
Okay.
So, okay, the meeting schedule.
Was there a specific thing that you wanted to
Well, we
discuss?
need to come up with our annual calendar, and Fred had indicated that he'd prefer the meeting start a little later, possibly be moved to a Tuesday. Just as an FYI to everybody, I looked at the January calendar and February's calendar. Basically, if we want to meet at this time frame, Fred had talked also about starting possibly later at 6 or 7. If you wanted to meet at this time frame or a little bit later, it would have to basically be a Wednesday, because it looks like Thursday. This hall is booked. And there is availability in the mezzanine. The issue with the mezzanine, however, is there's no phone, there's no ability to have a hybrid meeting up there.
I don't see anyone else doing hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
Planning doesn't, harbor management doesn't. I don't think the Conservation Commission has them. I mean, I enjoy it.
I think it's, I mean, we have someone on it today. Right. If someone's traveling, like you were in Florida, you were able to connect. I think it's helpful.
Is there a way to inquire, what about, being able to actually maximize the utility?
Gary, is your conservation?
Put a phone line. I mean, how expensive is it to put a phone line?
Yeah, my only problem,
just in person?
Greg, is that I have 7:30.
Antiquated.
Yeah, I have something every Wednesday at 7:30.
Yeah, so my thought is the current day and time are fine to me. What does everybody else feel?
Well, I think it's a shame that we can't get Fred here, but he's certainly been doing yeoman's duty being chairman of your committee, Mike. So I think he seems to be
Is he
keeping.
out every Wednesday, or is it just he has to kind of fluctuate?
I think it's every Wednesday. He's at the soup kitchen or the
Is that-
hospitality center in New London.
So that's every Wednesday?
Yeah.
And would he be willing to miss one?
I don't know. You'd have to ask. Or I could certainly ask him.
How does this time work for everybody else?
Works for me.
For me.
Yeah, it works for me.
Ready to go to bed.
Worrying about getting a homework put in up there, but for now, we're going to stay.
Yeah.
Well,
But if we're going to meet at the same time and the same date, just as soon book this room.
Right.
But I think we need to book it fairly soon because I happen to run into Mike Foliano. Affordable Housing's meeting up in Mezzanine now. He actually has this room booked for our date on December. He says, "Oh, I booked your room."
Uh-oh.
He says, "Well, I'll switch dates with you. Don't worry about that." But so dates are getting filled.
Yeah.
that's why they ask you to put your calendar out there.
Yeah.
I would concur that we could keep this time. Maybe Fred can make an exception on a 1 month day a month, and if not, there are the notes, and he could report in the interim.
Or you could call in, too.
And
Hybrid.
that we could also look into phone, a cable, because it's not going to just affect us, but
Right.
the rest of the workings for the town hall.
I think when Fred goes to New London and works at the hospitality center, he can't be on the phone.
Yeah, you know, I do that also, but not on Wednesdays, and you cannot be on the phone, but there are other people available to take his place occasionally. They put out a call every time they do it, and people sign up. So.
Oh, okay. So he could maybe get a substitute for one Wednesday a month.
Yeah, he should be able to. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, thanks for that.
thanks for the info,
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead and book our
Book ours.
2023. Okay.
Yeah.
I will send something to Michelle Hayes tomorrow.
Great. So keeping the schedule as is for the time being.
I think it's important just that if you meet regularly and want public ever to show up, having the same meeting year after year, same time is important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Wetlands does it. They probably meet, especially regulatory, you want to, once you get into a schedule,
Yeah.
everybody's kind of counting on
As
you.
far as I
First Monday
remember,
of every month.
I've been on the Wetlands Commission since 1981, and I don't
It's a
think they've changed the date or the time.
You guys have only room for an hour.
Oh,
6 to 7.
no. 6, oh, yeah. Well,
Everybody else books it for 2.
well, our never mind, I won't comment.
We're on the air.
What about the budget?
I don't see any problem with them. I mean, we
Well-
have a budget.
Well, we have the that we went over last Friday,
Yeah.
that's the current budget. And in the past, we've done some, we've gone to Board of Finance with capital improvements. Last year, we went and got 2,000, was it, for?
Yeah, I have an update. You wanted the grant information.
Well, we're just wanted to kind of know how much you had left of that money.
Right. I heard back from Amy at 4:30 this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
So we have 6,300.
So
we got a good chunk.
Yeah.
And
And
then
we have a
you-
carryover from last year,
I think, do you have,
22,000?
No, from 20, from Ann's,
No.
a carryover total.
Yeah.
Okay.
From
I can't-
I don't know what's left, but
I don't have my budget figures. I haven't got it.
That was 6,200 and change you had left?
6,366.
Three
And you can continue that, there's no
Yeah, I mean, we have a report due towards the end of January, and what you just have to say is, it's not finished, and we framed the project as a multi-year project to begin with, so I don't...
And then I noticed in your ferry landing report, you had some draft budgets. We talked about the boundaries. The herbicide treatment and removal of the Phragmites was 51. Plant material, planting labor, drone. I think those can fit into our budget. I just don't know about the Phragmites because...
Well, it has to be voted on. I mean, we...
Yeah, well, right, but I'm just saying you kind of have to tell the Board of Finance, this is an item that we're considering. And so...
In order to spend the money you've been allocated, you have to ask. I'm sorry,
No, this is for next year's budget.
It's for next year.
All right.
Next year's budget, so that's why if we have X dollars for carryover.
Right.
And we have Y dollars left in yours, I'm trying to figure out where the overall we stand.
Right.
So...
Well, we requested 7,000 and change from them last year, and I don't know if they gave it all. But that was the budget, the town budget that was part of the...
It was 7,000, why did I think it was 2,000?
No,
It was 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been trying to get a hold of Amy in finance, and so let me... And we have carryover.
Where did I get I wrote this down last Friday, and
We have
the 22,000 was...
I don't know, I'll have to, but it's not 22,000. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I just don't remember, because we have some carryover from the prior year.
Right.
They don't like carryover, so I try, whenever we do budget items for this year, I say take it into our carryover to pull it forward. So if we have money coming forward, and I was just trying to get a consensus of what other projects we have coming up, then it's nice to go to the Board of Finance and say, we think we have enough in carryover, because carryover is very specific, legal, stewardship, we kind of expanded stewardship. We think we have enough to do this. We need to present it to the neighbors and get a consensus, and then we have a few unknowns. So could we have a little potential $5,000 if we need it to go over, because now that we've got the grant money, we've done some of the work, we've done the clearing, we're ready to go to the next step. But the next step is a bigger financial crunch. We talked about the and that's where you have to go and say, we may need a little play in that, because they like it when you go and give them an idea. We may need some money versus if you go and say, I got to have some money, because then they don't like that approach. So that's why they want to have an idea, because they're doing it for the entire town where there's some money. That's the only thing. And I think what I need to do is maybe sit down with Amy in finance, because she hasn't been available, to see how much. Email me what's left in your grant, so I'll have a copy, and then we can kind of put this and then see where we are. And then I'll send an email out to everybody to kind of...
Right. I would just point out, though, that in terms of the Phragmites management, the proposal that we got
from All Habitat
was based on
the mowing,
3 years, and it was based on mowing in the first year, and then the 2023 proposal, which was $5,125, starts with the herbicide. So I don't know. I'm assuming that mowing would have to take place first.
Is that Malcolm mowing, or is that them mowing?
It would have been, that's on their...
That's their...
The dollar amount they gave for that, which was over $6,000, is...
Just to mow?
Most of it's going to be by hand. And I access it was a kind of, that's why people could never, really finish the job. It's accessible, although looking at least that north end of the pond that we, we're working near on the upland area, we're doing the clearing, you certainly have better access, than standing on a boat or something and trying to get at it, I think.
Yeah. Huh.
But that 6150 was just mowing.
Yeah.
And they only needed to do it once, they said? And then the 5,100.
I'd have to look at the proposal again.
Yeah.
With me, but I believe that there's, subsequent mowing as needed kind of thing. Most likely there will still.
Like we'll need money.
But that's assuming that the commission votes to authorize not just spending that money, but the whole concept of, approaching Phragmites management in this way. We
and then
modified our policy, but it didn't say, yes, go for it. It said,
on a case-by-case basis, yeah.
Right, and also you have the state piece right next to it that isn't going to get treated.
It actually was treated in September.
But it wasn't, was it mowed? Did the state?
No, for some reason they just sprayed it. So maybe that's an option,
Well, that's the way they've been doing it for years.
Spray first and then mow?
Yeah, and then mulch it when it's dead.
All right.
Then you mulch it.
So then, the 6,000.
That's what they did when they did the entire Lieutenant River years ago. But then they ran. That whole thing died. I think it was.
You mean across the
Great Island? Was it Great Island?
East side of the river?
Well, it was all up, behind here.
Oh, okay.
All the way up the Lieutenant River, the state. Yeah, and the Nature Conservancy. So they did a combined effort, but it was I don't know, a year or two, and then it stopped, and that wasn't enough, and then slowly but surely the Phragmites came back.
It's an ongoing obligation.
Yeah. You're never going to eradicate it. It's just control.
Right. So, anyway, in that information, I'm more optimistic that we might not need more than the 2023 routine that's priced at $5,125.
Without the mowing.
Right.
I guess we need to think about that.
I know that the regime that Rich Snarsky uses in Lord's Cove is mow first, wait for it to come back, which it will because it's a grass. It's like mowing your lawn. Mow it and then it comes back.
Right.
And then when it's actively growing, spray it. And that's the way he's been doing it. So.
And he's been very successful.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'd be worthwhile to have him come down or meet with him sometime and see how he would, just as another thought.
Right.
Because, it'd be nice to have a little more in his information, and he's right up the road.
Oh, yeah.
And people can look, and people know him in this area. He's well respected.
Yeah.
Do you know if he's still doing that regiment?
I don't know what.
I don't know
because he's claimed that he's planting native grasses where he's quote eradicated the Phragmites.
In the areas where it has been eradicated, but it just sort of keeps moving around because of.
Be curious how he does the mowing and spraying and
That's why it might be interesting to have him.
And treats what he doesn't.
And, what he thinks it would cost.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad to get
another bid.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Good.
we'll work on that then.
Yeah, in terms of, your budget, for your budgeting purposes, this is the best I can offer.
No, that's very good. Does anyone think of any other things that,
When does this budget due?
We meet January or February, we'll start submitting reports.
To the town and when you say?
We'll get them ready, we'll meet with a representative, sometimes from the Board of Finance, then they schedule them and, and
So you got time to figure it out. But.
Yeah, the other thing we had talked about doing some carryover was we were going to address putting that small fence around the Barbizon Oak and some signs there. And so I'll work with Jim and see if we can get some type of estimate and then go from there.
And the other funding that I anticipate in speaking with Ann is the possible, well, not possible, but the editing of the video and still life cameras for Ferry Road going forward with the cameras moving off from Ames and we have from, I think, this year enough that we couldn't see any more footage from Ames. But we were paying about $200, maybe it was, I think it was, $200 for a volunteer, for a student to put together some film.
Hi.
Can you kind of put together a little proposal for a year to say if we had what we spent on Ames, just to send it to me so when I'm putting...
Ames actually turned out to be a volunteer. He donated his time towards community.
We had the phone bills that came, or there were some bills associated. And we have the cameras that are purchased. And then if you kind of project if we hired somebody, you just said you paid somebody. So just so when we go to the Board of Finance, we've got something on Ames that we're now switching over to this project. Just a paragraph, just kind of a sum so we can plug it in. We could have a tornado and be looking at 30 tree removals. They just kind of need to know where we're, what we're doing. And it gives them a better idea. We always kind of start out telling them what we've done.
Yeah.
And then moving forward.
But it's interesting, the Board of Finance has also encouraged us to come back to them when we...
we want to keep happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So any thoughts or just an idea so we can plug it in? So.
I didn't get with Wayne yet on the bat house installation, so I'll get with him in the near future. Number for...
Oh, I thought you put your house up.
I put up a barred owl box.
Oh.
But the bat house is not up.
Oh.
Well, the Barred Owl House was a Boy Scout.
That was the Boy Scout.
Conservation Commission.
Conservation, Boy Scout, Land Trust, combination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody we could find that would help out.
I'd love to know when the barred owls move.
Yeah, well, we got somebody going to be checking on that.
That's great.
Oh,
We'll let you know.
What property is that?
Land Trust.
Which?
For Bayberry. I'm not sure the name of it.
Lay Allen.
It's a layout, yeah.
Ah, okay, lovely.
So.
Okay, are we done with the budget?
I think so. If anyone else has any thoughts, just email me. But I think I have we can put together one. Okay.
Bylaws correction.
But Gary was looking at the bylaws and he noticed a typo, and I think I said
right.
One of the Article 9 regarding employees, it says the chairman may be authorized to sign contracts for employing personnel, and the commission may approve contracting for services as, and the word needed again. So I would make a motion that the bylaws be amended to correct that typo.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that?
I'm going to abstain because I am not sure that the commission chair should have the right to write a contract for the town of Lyme. Is that written someplace else that we have the town of Old Lyme's permission, or is there a procedure how we do that?
I don't know, Gary.
We hire land stewards.
I know we do I know we've been doing
hired,
it.
yeah.
When I was reading that, I'm thinking, holy moly, I could go out and write a contract to have my house painted for me.
No.
Same thing. We're writing contracts for the town of Old Lyme. I don't know
We
about that.
approve contracts, we spillways, drones,
I know we do it, I'm just saying.
Well, the chairman needs to get our approval for over an X amount, and
From
the
the-
commission still has to basically adhere to town purchasing and procurement policies, so it's not like,
What are
not
those?
like,
I've never seen those. What are those?
we'll go up and talk to finance.
Okay, they're not online anywhere?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I know that anything over 10,000 has to go out for bid.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, anything over, I think, 1,500, we have to have board approval.
Right.
And after than that, you could say, how can you even go in and buy a paper? That was true, because you have to have,
Well, if you get-
you're authorized, so
Getting reimbursed is one thing, but actually writing a contract is
no, but,
something else.
but what I'm saying
well,
is,
the one control, Gary, is that Amanda can't cut any checks. Any disbursement of funds has to go through the town office,
Right.
and that's a check in itself.
It is, but it's, I'm done.
thank you.
Good, thanks. We've discussed the Button Ball Road committee report, I think. And so the next thing is community outreach. Andrea?
Yes. Since our last meeting in December, we had 2 work parties, both on the Ferry Road property. One, both with the environmental club, Evan, Gary, parent for the first, and it was, there were 4 or 5 students. I know I sent pictures of the second one. I probably did the first one as well.
Yeah.
Both were really, I think, very successful. On the first one, I think there was an ambitious parent who didn't realize the different species, and I think may have cut some grapevine.
Well, he cut some grapevines and he cut some spice bush, too. He didn't come and ask me whether that was something that should be cut.
Which is why I think the second one you had preemptively tried to describe different invasive species and help us all identify what
Oh,
they
the nice thing was we had both Heather and I plants,
and Mike and Ann
and
to
then-
some extent, and Fred.
Mike and Ann too, and then Fred came later. So, I mean, there was enough expertise there to say, hold on, don't cut that.
Yeah.
Do cut that. So,
And Tractor Supply Store had helped provide some of the leather gloves that we discussed giving to the students. So I wrote them a thank you note, gave them a picture. They're putting it of the students, and just wanting to acknowledge and thank them, so they may come back and do that and know that it was genuine on both parts, because I'm sure other people could come in and ask and things of that nature. Let me just quickly get to my notes. So the next month in January, the Environmental Club is going to be doing another project, but also Ann felt that there was not a need to do more clearing until some of the plants come up and to identify what is going to be there, and then maybe late spring, which will be May, and the students will be graduating, like 8 or 10 students will be graduating, so that the using them to help plant is a may or may not, just projecting that out for May. However, at today's environmental club meeting, there was a bike club guy who asked for your contact information. So if you get a message from a Justin Green, he's a guy from the bike club, and he just wants to talk about clearing the trails and that there are trees down the trail. my daughter did trail. It's a conversation to be had. I can reach out to him in the interim, but it also may open up opportunity to discuss the shared of space, bikes, and it's not that they're bad and we're good, but, you know, it is a shared entity, and how can it be done in a safe and educational manner? And then you get a whole new host of volunteers who could also help. As I said, the 10 seniors are graduating from the environmental high school club. And while this last party had some underclassmen, it's a building process, to say the least. And my direct involvement can continue, but it may not be for very long term. Yeah, it was both very successful, and it's really wonderful when any member from the board can participate and
here it is.
Flavor, which is not always easy, but I thought it was a good meeting and very productive day.
Hey, sorry, Suzanne?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you mute, or we're getting a fair amount of background noise?
I'm sorry. I can only stay about 15 minutes longer. I thought I had muted, but I'll try again. Okay, I'm not real familiar with this, but I'll try to mute. If I can't, I'll close out, okay?
Well, no, when we finish with Andrea, why don't we call on you next? So see if you have any public
No,
comment.
I don't have anything to report or anything,
Okay.
so,
Okay, thanks.
no, but I'm good. Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Yeah,
No problem.
bye.
Sorry, Andrea.
That's quite all right. And as I mentioned, one camera is in the process of being shifted from Ames to Ferry Road, and I thought the batteries had died. Went to Coffee's, I got replacement, but I think it was just too cold because it didn't respond. But now that it's warmed up in the house, it has. I don't know, or wet. But I'm still finagling with that. After this weekend, I can focus some attention.
I have a question. If it's too cold, then
I don't know what it is.
okay, because then it's not very useful.
Correct. No, I mean, I don't think it's that cold. I don't know. There was just some, hence, we have a guaranteed warranty with Browning. I'm not worried that they can address my issue, but,
okay, fine.
And I will check also on the other ones. So there's the advantages and disadvantages of not having it connected to your own on a Wi-Fi where you could monitor it daily to know, hey, something's gone wrong.
Right.
And maybe once a month or every 3 months, someone may get out there to eject the SIM card. I mean, it's $18 a month to have it downloaded onto your camera,
On your phone.
whatever unit, camera, phone, computer or phone with the Wi-Fi. So,
right, we may want to revisit that.
we may want to revisit that, which would be $18 a month. I'll put it in the other budget thing. But, so that's a work in progress. But the last shots that came from the Beaver Pond were birds that were like this, right in front of the camera. It was just phenomenal. It's like, look at me! And the dots on the fawns, the passive dots, were just like right there. Wow. You could count them. They're so close. So it was pretty exciting.
Nice to have one on Ames, and nice to have, one camera.
Yeah.
You may need to put that in your budget item, though.
The Wi-Fi?
Well, the camera, since it's shifting over when you do your budget. And you may need to...
monthly cost, or did we purchase those?
The only monthly potential cost would be $18 a month for the Wi-Fi.
Which we're not
doing.
And
which we're not presently doing.
Right, but also if you want a student or somebody,
Yes.
and maybe your intern.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And then
together on that.
also, if she has less environmental, you may have to get budget for work.
Well, labor is in here.
Okay. I just was thinking, that shifts around.
SIM cards, is that what you do?
Yes, you'd have to swap out the SIM cards anyway, but the Wi-Fi is just like, oh, look, it's an alert if you want to look at it to tell you that there's a coyote, a raccoon, or the camera's not working.
Is there a reader that you use, SIM card reader?
I do.
Okay.
Well, I attach it to my computer. And then the other thing, last month or two, I think last month, Joe Atwater from the Roger Tory Peterson Audubon spoke about owl walks, and so he offered or suggested that he could do a walk with the high school students. So we're just tweaking some dates, but there is a $15 a person fee. So I'm just bringing it up, whether it's something we want to pop for or not. The Environmental Club knows this, so I'm not offering it to them in advance, but I'm just throwing it out there. It would be 10 students and maybe 3 adults, 2 teachers and myself. And a decision doesn't have to be made at this point, but
can you ask Joe if they charge the students when they go out to the schools to do classes?
They supposedly get a grant. They do get a grant from CFET, the Connecticut Foundation for Eastern Connecticut.
Yeah.
I was on the board with Emily,
right.
And so any of their programs, they paid their staff very generously for the programs that they do. I didn't see a request for an owl walk per se so much as going into a school.
But if they're charging the students the same as they would charge you and me to go on an owl walk, I think that's wrong.
And they used to do members got a discount too.
Well, yeah.
Well, none of them are members.
No, but I'm saying if
Okay,
this is
I'll
an
ask.
educational program for the high school students, then
Okay.
it's come under their normal
Andrea, were
school
you suggesting
education.
that we fund the cost for the environmental club students?
Well, only because it was Gary who had said, I'll pay for them, and I don't know if you were really meaning that, but it just, it's just a question because...
Well, does the environmental fund have money, and would they be Heather's budget and maybe split it?
I don't think she has a budget, but I could ask.
Well, I'm just looking at different sources.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any answers, I'm just...
And I don't have any answers either.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions.
Yep. So am I. So I'll just continue to ask questions.
Yeah, and then we'll get back and figure out what our answers are.
Yes.
I think Evan's right. It should be a student rate. So then if it...
Yep, that's a good...
Then you're a couple $100, and you always have to look at how the public would perceive us spending our funds. So
Yes.
It may not come, I don't know, we may want to do it in our hearts, but we have to,
No, I think that'd be a wonderful opportunity for the students to do an owl walk. I've been out with Joe on the not Stubbe property, but whatever it's called, Woody Griswold Preserve, where the fish ladder is.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fun. It was mighty cold, but we saw a lot of. We got a barred owl to come in.
Really?
Nice.
Really close.
Wow.
Nice. Okay.
But I don't know that the students. I can see why the students wouldn't want to pay $15
And their parents 10.
All right, so I'll follow up with that, and that's all I've got.
Okay, great. Thanks,
Except
Andrew.
to say one other little personal thing, that Suzanne is a very good bingo music buff. We were at the library for a musical bingo, and it was a very nice event, and it was just fun to be able to also see people out in the social environment.
Yeah, great. Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Missed that.
It was quite fun.
So moving along to the ferry landing project, have anything further to?
I think my report covers it.
Yep.
Huge thank you to Andrea for, mustering all of that manpower,
Yeah.
person power, and thank you to the commission members that were able to get there. Evan, twice now, thank you very much. It was really exciting.
It's actually fun to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's exciting to see, progress.
Yeah.
And, as I mentioned to Andrea in terms of like any future work parties of that nature, I feel like we've gotten to a point where we have some decent, room to move in and to consider where, future plantings should happen. And I don't want to, I'm very, conscious of not denuding the cover, the shelter and, places for animals to hide and keep warm and stuff. So I think we're good where we're at now. It was quite remarkable how much was done. I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because it was just like this impenetrable thicket, and then, it was like locusts came out. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So that was exciting, and, next steps are going to be exciting, and, I'll be, seeking expertise on, types of plants as well as, the best way to go about putting them in.
Yeah.
And that will involve some labor, probably, because, it's an ongoing conversation.
I think I wrote you back about.
You did, yeah.
Slips that are relatively cheap, but when you plant them, easy to plant. You can take a shovel and stick it in the ground, and then put a slip next to the shovel.
Well, maybe we can do exposures or something, but I'm concerned about deer browsing.
Yeah.
That's my, worry is that we may want to invest, and I think it might be nice to sort of get a little, like, running start by investing in some, not like everything we put in has to be 10 feet tall.
Right.
But to invest in some larger specimens to sort of, anchor the effort.
Things going,
Yeah.
Evan, what's that brochure we get in the spring that has all the seedlings?
Did you send me a report again?
It's like the Conservation Commission, the state of Connecticut, and you can sign up for all those.
Yeah, native
It comes on
plant
that,
sales.
Yeah. And then,
Like 10 plants come free or something, or you get it?
well, you can buy inexpensive, and they have natives. But Ann, I wanted to mention that my friend Nancy Ballick, at Ballick, volunteers a lot for the East Haddam Land Trust, and donates a lot of her time to historical stuff. So she's coming on an hour walk with us one night. But she would be a good person.
Good.
And is very involved and might be willing to give us a break on prices, I would hope.
Yeah.
And likewise, Matt Griswold and John, I forget his last name, but a friend who's up in Cheshire has a nursery. They do more, he won't necessarily have the native species, but he could direct you to people or make recommendations as well. But
well, yeah, it's going to be a learning. It's kind of like a lab what we're creating here. To see what's surviving, what's thriving, what's not, what's getting eaten, what's
Well, Nancy may have some
camera
thoughts on that too.
Right, but with the camera as well, we'll be able to see.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, if we get nothing but deer in the camera photographs, we'll know that we probably will need some protection for the plants.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to munch on your trees. I planted 4 nice crab apples. I had Evan look at them. Something was stripping bark from them.
Oh, no.
Porcupines
porcupines do that, don't they?
I think, what's that?
Porcupines strip bark, don't they?
Yeah, we don't have any porcupines down in here that I know of. I've never seen a porcupine
Is that right?
here. No,
around here.
further north.
Yeah. Kind of, excuse me for interrupting, kind of coincidentally, speaking of owls, that around the time that I noticed that bark being stripped, I've been hearing an owl hooting at night.
Yeah. Well, when the weather gets cold, especially December, I had 2 owls on my roof the other night, that woke me up because they were having a little amorous discussion.
That's exciting. Now, that's what we need the camera for.
So, and then at the same time, all the little critters, like voles, like to come out and chew on the bark.
Especially with the full moons we've been having.
Yeah.
So just the other two things that in my report to sort of touch on, and that we were talking about moments ago, is we need to have a full discussion of the Phragmites, program going forward, and maybe I can get Rich Snarsky out there and put together like a little information packet for everybody, send that out. Possibly not for the January meeting, but certainly would hope to take it up by February and move on it as quickly as possible.
Well, we've got time because the
well, but there's the permitting for it may take some time.
Oh,
I've heard that can be quite lengthy, and also going through the vetting process of whoever. Are we going to go with this vendor now forward? And then last but not least, we bid a fond farewell to our interns for the year. And it was a learning experience having them on site. We really didn't get the support that I thought we would get from the Three Rivers faculty. So it was a little hit or miss, but we did get some, we made some progress in various ways, and, we have a connection, and we fulfilled the obligation that we made in the grant application.
Oh, good.
So, and check that box.
great.
If I could just follow up on that a little bit. Another component of the grant was for high school students and or other individuals, and I don't know if Suzanne is still on, but there is a workshop that Three Rivers is putting on from January until May that anyone can access, and I will send you the poster for, and you could go up to Three Rivers for the discussion, or you could call in. But there's some
various speakers on various environmental topics.
Right.
Okay.
That was somewhat part of the collaboration. So I'll send it off to the Land Trust also, Suzanne.
Okay, be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Ann, thank you. You're done?
Yes.
Okay. I have nothing to report on the Wetlands Commission. There has been no applications that have affected open space, so I think.
Okay.
So Gary, do you have anything on the Conservation Commission other than?
Well, I sent everybody a picture of the barred owl box. I
That
sent
was
you
great.
a flyer for the watershed training in the library and for the light pollution, so
Yeah.
that's about it for me.
Yeah.
Gary,
Yes.
Gary had raised that barred owl box.
What's that?
Has the barred owl box been raised up higher?
Yes, it's installed. I believe I sent you a picture of it, but I'll send you one when I get home.
That'd be great. No, you didn't, because I'd love to see how it is now. Okay. And I won't be hiking for a while, so I won't get out there.
It's about 16 feet, and I told them not to go any higher because of the safety issue on the length of the ladders.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. I'd love a picture. Okay.
All right. I'm sorry I didn't send it to you. Sent it to everybody I knew, except you.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Gary.
Sure.
And new business, recognition of members' service.
Gary and Bruce are retiring
Yeah.
at the end and coming off the commission. And I know Bruce isn't here, but we just wanted to say thank you for your service,
You're welcome, I
for
enjoyed it.
everything you've done. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome to come back and
Yeah.
nudge us.
Still invite you to the work parties.
Yeah.
Invite me to the work parties and invite me to all those training sessions, going anywhere.
Are you interested in walking trails?
Not this year.
Okay.
I wanted to just say that I've enjoyed working with you, Gary.
Yeah.
I think you've been a great member of the commission, and I also want to commend you on what you're doing with conservation. It seems like you guys are really starting to move along, and I think a lot of it's from you, and you're doing great work over there.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank
we-
you, Gary.
Thank you. We sort of took up the mantle of educating the community.
I think that's a
as
great
our
mantle.
thing.
Yeah.
You got something you want me to do rather than you, let me know. I think I'd love to do it.
Okay, that's great. We can call on you.
Right now, the library the library told me you have too many environmental programs. You gotta let somebody else get in. Okay, but if you got an opening, let me know, because I got 2 other programs ready to go.
I was really glad to see that the library was putting on
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
program
they're
on
gearing up with the new library, the new media centers.
lighting,
Yeah.
outdoor lighting.
Oh.
And you probably saw that
Just-
Katie Balaka, who's the working manager over there, is
Right.
now gonna be the executive director here.
Oh, good.
She's taking Michelle's.
She's going to be what?
She's taking Michelle's spot.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Katie Balaga's gonna,
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
she's leaving the library and coming.
Yeah.
Oh.
63,000 a year, 35-hour a week. So it was in my email this morning, so.
Okay.
Let's
So
see.
we all know her probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big step for me at least. I don't walk in there and they say, who the hell is this guy wanting all this? She already knows I want a lot.
Yeah, she says, oh my God, it's him. They just changed the words. Thank you both, so we'll miss you. Public comment. Is in the public, I don't know, Suzanne's still on the line or not, anything for public comment?
She said she didn't have any.
And she did.
Oh, you're here.
I'm here, but I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought you said. No.
Okay, then in that case, I think we're going to end the public part of the meeting.
I have just one
Okay, I'm sorry.
other comment, not especially relevant, except that next Tuesday, the 20th, there is a restaurant day at Sapore. So if you eat at Sapore's on Tuesday, all day, anytime during the day, proceeds will go to fund the Safe Grad fundraiser party.
Oh.
Where's